man, we're here back. Boyz Nerdz, Kevin Lewis, Steve Halling. Say hi, Steve.
What's up?
Steve, I'm feeling a little bit of feels right now because we watched season 6, episode 5, Game of Thrones, entitled "The Door." Not The Doors, to be mistaken with the band that
musical group
Kurt Cobain was in. No, just kidding. That was a joke. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I'm feeling some feels, definitely. What's your initial reaction of the last scene specifically? Let's just get that one over with.
Okay, so for the last scene specifically, I don't know. I thought it was okay. Like, it explained some things. It explained how Hodor got his name, I guess you can say, or why he is the way that he is. But there was a lot of different things leading up to it. And just like some of the fine details about that entire sequence and scene that I just didn't really care for. I thought they could have done a lot better job at it, but I guess it was kind of cool and neat to understand why he is the way he is.
I mean, it's interesting, but did we need to know?
No,
of course not. So,
and that's the way that they ended it too, like this big reveal or like this big plot point. And
I'll tell you my biggest complaints about that specific scene, okay? So the Witch King, he's there. Or not the Witch King, that's definitely from Lord of the Rings. What is he called?
I forget.
It doesn't, the Night's King, whatever. So you see Mira initially run up being like, oh shit. So she like runs through this small tunnel to go and see, and they're all there, right? Mm-hmm. Then there's this swarm of fire and they come in. It fucking takes them 17 minutes to go through this goddamn tunnel to finally get into the, like, where the three-eyed crow is. That's my biggest complaint with it, because it's like literally 10 feet. And the Witch King, or the Night's King, whatever the frick his name is, he's just taking a sweet-ass time to give them time to escape. And it was so apparent that they were just delaying it to give him a chance to go. That's my first biggest complaint. My second biggest complaint is it was stupid, and it doesn't make any sense. Now, I think everybody at this point is so awed with the fact of, oh my god, so that's how he got his name. They're not actually focusing on what happened and how it doesn't make sense.
Right.
And that's my biggest complaint. So, okay, you have Hodor in real life, and he's freaking out going, Hodor, 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 like he does. And then Mira's like, Bran, you have to take control of him. So Bran hears him. So Bran's in the dream. That's something to keep in mind. How I interpreted it as is that he then goes into Hodor and starts like dragging Bran out. Okay, so that's Bran now in the dream in Hodor, and then all of a sudden taking control of younger Hodor too, creating like a pathway, a connection, which then screws up his... It's fucking confusing as shit.
The way that I kind of understood it was because Bran was in the dream, he couldn't take control of present Hodor in that situation. So he could hear Mira and he could hear the fact that he needed to come back, but for whatever reason he couldn't come back. I don't know if that's just because he couldn't do it by himself or whatever the case might be, but he couldn't come back to reality. So his way of getting to present day Hodor was through young Hodor, which young Hodor in the past, just that connection, it's not supposed to work that way, so it scrambled his brain or fried his brain or messed him up in that way.
Yours definitely makes more sense now that I hear it, but...
So he technically took control of present or past Hodor to get to...
I just thought I remembered seeing present Hodor's eyes rolling up like they do, and...
Which he did, but I think it was a connection through the past.
It's fucking confusing, bottom line, and it's not great storytelling. Like I said, everyone's so focused on, oh my god, that they're just like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
And here's my other biggest complaint too. I didn't care about Hodor.
No.
He died. I don't care. I was devastated when Summer died, when they stabbed the direwolf, because there are only 2 left now. They're all dead. And every direwolf death up to this point has meant something. And I'll tell you why I'm complaining. Lady was killed off in season 1, and she was a necessary sacrifice because Sansa, at that point in her time, was half Stark, but she wanted to get away from that. She wanted to live in the big city. She wanted to be in King's Landing. So it was kind of like symbolic to her putting her Stark roots behind and killing the wolf. That was a great one. Grey Wind, which is Rob's wolf, was in the battle with him. He was a soldier with him, you know what I mean? And it just made sense to kill that wolf when when Rob died.
Yep.
Okay? Shaggy Dog, I still don't think is dead, but they randomly killed him for the sake of killing him, and which kind of sucked. And then all of a sudden, Summer's dead. But what was the real point of killing Summer other than just being shock value?
I don't know. I don't think that the TV show is putting enough emphasis and focus on the direwolf.
That's how the whole story started.
Right.
And they're not just pets. They have like a weird connection with these Stark kids.
Yes, and I just don't feel like the TV show is really focused around that, so getting rid of a direwolf because of that situation,
they care about
just something.
They care about the dragons much more than they care about the wolves. The only thing I can think of artsy-fartsy wise is the wolf's name is Summer. And the whole story has been winter is coming. So by having them kill the wolf entitled Summer by the White Walkers, they've initially winter is here.
I guess.
That's artsy fartsy. I'm not saying and here I don't want to focus the whole review on that scene. Here's my other biggest complaint. There are 9,000 of those like zombie creatures like pushing at that door. They're gonna get through. And then you have a little weak girl pulling Bran through a fucking blizzard. How far is she realistically gonna get? And how are they gonna escape them? And what's next? It just
the thing that bothered me about that is the fact that the whole reason that Bran had to take Hodor or take over Hodor was because of the fact that she couldn't do it herself. When he was put on the barrel or whatever, the wagon or whatever, she was trying to get Bran to take Hodor because he was the one that had to take her, had to take Bran. And then they finally escape, and then she just takes it and then pulls him in a more difficult terrain.
Downhill. Like I said, I don't want to focus the whole thing on that, but this does open a lot of pathways to how Bran orchestrated Hodor. So how is that going to tie into the future? There's a big fan theory where Bran is going to master his powers or whatever, and he's actually been orchestrating everything up to this point. Intentionally, even though he doesn't want to, but it would explain a lot of things. It wouldn't be a giant "oh my god" moment, and you wouldn't watch the series the same again if you rewatched it. You know what I mean? So that's Bran. I'm done with Bran. The only other cool part from that storyline is we saw the creation of the White Walkers. I don't know if they took creative liberty from that or if that's straight from George R.R. Martin, where the Children of the Forest created the White Walkers. I guess that was cool. I kind of liked, because the Children of the Forest are now all dead, so, I mean, what does it matter? And I'm just so sick of these rushed training stories. Empire Strikes Back, this episode, just like, and then how is Bran expected to fill the role and, like, actually play a factor if he wasn't trained? And I just hate that kind of stuff. But let's transition just a little bit. We also saw some other things. We saw Jon Snow leave the wall officially this time. We thought he did it one time, but then he was walking out, and then the next goddamn scene, he was back in the wall. He's like, oh, just taking a piss.
Yep.
So we saw they're going to go down. Do you really think Edmure Tully and the Blackfish Tully, they specifically said Blackfish, do you really think that they have assembled an army, or do you think it's an elaborate ruse again, by Littlefinger?
I think that they really have. As much as Littlefinger is all for his best interests and he puts himself first and foremost, I do think that he does love Sansa, and I do think that, because he loved his mother, or her mother, but I think that he does love Sansa, and he put her in that situation, knowing what the situation was with Ramsay, but, like he said, kind of underestimating what he would do.
Spoiler alert. I think that the Game of Thrones is going to right their wrongs, and I do think they are going to introduce some characters that were left out in the book, i.e. Cold Hands in the North, because I can't think of any other reason how Mira and Bran are going to escape other than getting assistance. I don't know how they're going to do it. And I think if they're going back to the Riverlands, there's Lady Stoneheart may be introduced. Just saying, putting it out there. I think they're going to right their wrongs. Also, I know this is kind of spoilery, but I'm not going to say anything more. I've read that that young actor who is cast to play Ned Stark is supposed to appear in 2 more episodes. So keep that in mind. I tell you right now, the season finale is going to be the reveal of Jon Snow's parentage. No doubt in my mind.
Yeah, that would make sense. I thought that they might reveal that a little bit earlier, but
they're killing people off at a rapid scale. But Arya. Are you sick to death of Arya's storyline?
So
It's
sick
just
of this.
she's training to become Donatello of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with her goddamn stick, and or Morgan from The Walking Dead. And it's just, do you want to be part of us? Are you listening to me? Who are you? But actually not doing anything.
No.
And they had to tease her parents getting killed, or Ned Stark getting killed one more time. How many times are they going to do that? Like, that is the true test of, oh no, I'm totally committed to this, but wait, now I got to watch a reenactment of my father being killed again. Sansa had to go through it with her brother at Joffrey's wedding. It's just, how many times are we going to see this? And then she didn't even do the mission in that episode. Talk about a slow story ever since she's gotten to Bravos. I couldn't care less about Arya at this point.
No, I'm just waiting for something to happen or something different. I honestly don't even want her to become one of the Faceless Men. I just want her to leave.
Exactly. It's just, she's the Jon Snow of this season. Like, remember in the first season where all this shit was happening and Jon Snow couldn't do a thing because he's out and about pissing off the wall? That's what she is this season. And talk about another useless character, and I'm going to get a lot of flack for saying this, Tyrion. Ever since season 4, Tyrion's story has been boring. He has nothing to do. And Tyrion, I don't want to say he's a one-dimensional character, but other than being witty and drinking, like, I get that that's his character, but they lean on that like a goddamn crutch. Are you kidding me? Every episode that Tyrion's been in, he's pouring wine. It's just, I get that that's the character, and he's trying to rule in Daenerys' stead, which is fine, and I do like him bringing Westeros ruling over there to see how it works, but Tyrion, it's just boring. It's boring material. I don't care what happens to Tyrion anymore. I really don't. They could kill him this season, wouldn't care.
See,
his story's done now that he's killed his dad.
No, I mean, I think that he'll have a play once Daenerys finally gets back to Westeros. I think she will get back to Westeros. So he'll have a big part in that, I believe. Just right now, there's just... we saw some things going on, but just the fact that they ended the entire show with the whole Hodor situation just kind of shows that they really started moving fast at the beginning of the season, and now last episode kind of slowed down, and this episode, in my opinion, was just a lot of filler. Like, there wasn't a lot of real big things happening. I mean, we saw Theon and the Greyjoys flee.
I did not like the presentation of Euron Greyjoy either. I want to put that out there. Like, he is too antagonistic. Like, I thought he would be a lot more suave, and he's just too like, I'm the king of the Iron Islands. It's like, okay, great.
Yeah, I'm gonna go take Daenerys as my wife.
I'm just so sick of that too, because it's just another obstacle Daenerys is inevitably gonna go over. Another male figure where she's gonna be like, you want to be my husband? Well, too fucking bad. I'm the queen of dragons, and I don't need a man. Yada yada yada. And she knows, it's not gonna pan out. And it's just, do we really need to see this again after the worst scene in Game of Thrones history, where she burns the Dothraki alive, which is still fucking stupid in my mind. I just hate, and just Jorah. Well, the next episode, by the way, is called Blood of My Blood, which is obviously a Dothraki reference, so I don't think Jorah's going to survive next episode.
No, I don't think that he will.
Somebody very close is going to die.
Well, I mean, I said this before. Once Jorah finally comes back to the good graces of Daenerys is when he's going to die. I don't know if they are going to kill him because now they just kind of sent him off. But it wouldn't surprise me if he did die. His time's done. His character's done.
There's nothing
he has
to
made
do.
peace with Daenerys.
And I don't want people coming and be like, what do you mean their story's done? They have to inevitably help Daenerys rule. It's like, shut up. That is such a useless story. Because I tell you right now, if Game of Thrones really is what I think it is, if they do this freaking story of where Daenerys is a freaking, a slave on the run to such a girl needing so much assistance to being this unstoppable force where every obstacle gets in her way, she freaking gets her way out of every scenario with no consequences, and if she inevitably just ends up taking up the throne and being like the leader that, to unite the world, I'm gonna hate that so much. I'm going to hate that.
See, I don't think that'll end up happening. I feel like they're building up this thing to where she is just rolling over everything, but when she gets into Westeros is where things are really going to
I'm
start.
not saying she doesn't have obstacles. She obviously gets obstacles, but I'm just saying she always comes out on top.
Yeah, she always comes out on top. I think that
time.
when she gets to Westeros is when we're going to see either the end of Daenerys, or she's really going to turn into the villain.
I hope so, because the Targaryens are known for being crazy. So I
she's
think,
getting more crazy and violent every season.
I think everybody thinks she would be the perfect leader, but if it really is Game of Thrones, I do see her being like an outcast and eventually going nuts to where, like a Walter White type transition, where you think he's doing the right thing and you root for him, but then later down the line you're just like, this guy is not good. Like, I don't know what happened to him. And she's so entitled. That's my thing about Daenerys these days. She is so entitled. I just need somebody to put her in her place.
Right, and I think that is what's going to happen when she gets to Westeros, because she thinks that she's the rightful heir. She thinks that, the people of Westeros are going to praise her and they're going to be so happy when she finally comes back.
And I think she's in for a reality check.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case at all. I don't think anybody wants the Targaryens there.
But when you have giant warrior races just fucking kneeling down to her and praising her as a deity just because she's not set on fire in a goddamn hut. Still, I hate
hate witchcraft.
I hate that goddamn scene. It's just, how much more can you shove it in our face? It's just like she walks on water, honestly, in this world.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess we'll see what kind of happens in the next episode. Just kind of overall thoughts for this one was I just didn't think that there was a lot of substantive things happening. Not a lot of movement within storylines. It was just kind of one of those filler episodes.
Yeah.
They're transitioning to where, they had a really fast start, and now they're picking up the pieces and trying to put some things together for what's going to happen at the end of the season.
Last week was definitely not this most... episode 4 was the weakest of the season so far. I found it pretty boring. This one definitely picked up the pace for me. I was, interested in the entire thing. I'm excited to see where some of these stories are going. I'm not really that excited for certain stories. I'm just like, all right, these are over. Yeah. There are still characters that have been cast in the season that haven't been introduced yet, and I'm a little concerned about that. So, let us know what you guys thought about the episode. We'll be back next week after next week's episode, which I believe, as I said, is called Blood of My Blood. So I feel like she's going to have a loss. Because think about it, it's going to be a really deep interpersonal, because whatever they're called, the Blood Riders, like when your call dies, they die too. Like they kill, like that's how close they are. So I don't know. Well, we'll see what it is. Let us know your thoughts, reviews. Check out the YouTube channel. Well, obviously, if you're on this episode, you're listening to the YouTube channel. But like us on Facebook. We'll be back next week for The Night is Dark and Full of Terrors. Right? Right. Bye.